must. It's one of those things where, you know,
Well, that would be me.
yeah, we can give and talk to property managers. That's usually, and managers of businesses. Our best bet is, to talk to them about the importance of diverting. But when it comes to like the enforcement or we can encourage people to sign up, but it's more, um, until we're not the one with the stick. Say,
Right.
you
And
must do
diverting,
this. Yeah.
diverting includes recycling, but I'm specifically interested in composting because so much of our waste, I really don't like putting cardboard into recycling. It ends up getting food waste on it from all the other food businesses. And I just keep thinking, I wish I had composting available. I would put so much in there. So
Yeah.
it feels like that would be an area. There's so many food businesses in every jurisdiction that would be a hard one to tackle. I'm just thinking back to working in the elementary schools. They tried it in the elementary schools and it was successful for a short time, but then it went away. So I just am curious about composting in particular. Maybe that's just a sidebar.
Are you saying that you're not allowed to have a compost barrel where you rent?
I have a compost barrel, but we don't have yard waste. And so that's where a lot of compost can be diverted
yeah.
to is into the yard waste. So no,
No
in my
yard waste?
in my neighborhood, if you're a renter, you can't have a yard waste because we're a small footprint. That's what I was told by Waste Management when I tried a couple of years ago. So I
Yeah,
don't know, why does my neighborhood not have them and you do?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those, I mean, if you can talk to, if it's an HOA or a property management, they just need to sign up. I mean, we do have commercial businesses, that are signed up in Bremerton. This year we've made it available to Kitsap County. So, and I believe we do it, in a manner where it's easy, where you can put food and yard waste in the same bin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
Or pizza
yeah.
boxes.
Green cans.
Pizza
Yep.
boxes. Even
Minus
like I
the
think
little plastic piece in the middle. I don't know why they
mine is
still put those in there. It drives me crazy, but yeah.
I will if I get my yard waste bin, I promise you, Han, I will take out that plastic
Okay.
little table. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
I'll check in with Melinda about my neighborhood, but I am curious in the next year to find out if you have a lot more success diverting through compost and food businesses around Kitsap County.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging me on that.
Oh, I got a question. Yes, did you have a question, comment? Ready? How much does one of your trucks, how many tons of compost would go in one, what I still call a garbage truck?
And Brian, you're on mute. So it is a separate truck that picks up the yard waste organics. I
Yeah,
don't know what the capacity is, Brian. What is the capacity in the truck?
Up to 12 tons. Up to 12
So
tons.
we're-
We don't want them
Wow.
going over 12 tons. They'll be overweight at that point. So we try to have them manage their routes to where they do, say they have 1,000 home route, they'll do 500 homes, then go to the dump. Bad word, but go to the facility to get rid of the material.
Transportation.
Yeah,
So
yeah, the
that means
transportation,
really
they'll-
we only got two more
Yeah.
trucks this year, right?
Pardon
Two and
me?
a half trucks. So this year we got 2.5 more truckloads of yard waste than we did last year.
Yes.
Right? Well, at least a ton came from my yard because my yard waste barrel is full to the brim every 2 weeks. So that seems amazing to me that so few people are using it. But if you're under the impression that you can't have it.
Well, I
then
called and
that's
I
good.
requested 7 years ago when I moved in. Let me see, was it 8 years ago now? And they said that it wasn't available in my area. But my neighbors who had single family houses had yard waste bins, but I wasn't qualified for it because I was in a duplex.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you
That
have
piece
one.
is to me, that piece is kind of strange. That I don't know about that, but like Han alluded to earlier, we opened up in the entire Kitsap
I will
County.
try again
Okay.
because maybe things have changed over the years. And apologies if I've misspoken.
Yeah, that actually has been the inclusion of compost has been relatively recent in yard waste. So,
Okay,
so that could be,
I'm excited that I will be calling up and getting our waste bin.
It's amazing how quick it fills.
I might even decide to start doing yard work if I have a yard waste bin.
Yeah,
We'll see.
there's that.
Yeah, my chickens take care of some of it, but not all of it. All right.
Okay, there's any other questions from council?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, next,
Thank
let's
you.
go to our agenda bill briefings. I'd like to welcome Mayor Greg Wheeler here to present item B1, the appointment of Jeff Parsons to our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
All right. Good evening, council.
I'm very excited.
Yes. Yes, I am seeking confirmation for appointment of Jeff Parsons. I'm general manager for the Fairfield Inn and Suites. That's the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Easy peasy, Mayor.
Yeah.
And just so the public knows, we're looking for one more member of this committee who either works in a hotel, owns an Airbnb,
Please, a short term.
manages them,
Yeah.
short-term rentals, I'm sorry.
That would be great.
Except for the party.
Except for the one on
Except for the
Lafayette.
party. Oh, they don't- You do-
Maybe they should be on there.
No, you have to live in Bremerton to be on that.
Fair.
But I'm really glad that Jeff is willing to be on it because we've got a full schedule and we're publishing the schedule to everybody so they know in advance when the meeting dates are. So,
Sounds like a great addition.
yeah. So how should we handle this?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you. Thank you,
Boom.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Shakalaka.
Now we need a break.
What?
No.
Next up, I'd like to welcome Utility Manager Will Riley here to present item B2, acceptance of the East Narrows Stormwater Management Action Plan grant from the Washington State Department of Ecology. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. Last year, so this is a little bit of a backstory. Last year, we applied for a grant to conduct this SMAP process. The SMAP is a tool for our stormwater department to find the best place to install treatment retrofits, stormwater management retrofits, projects of that nature. We were awarded $297,400 from the Department of Ecology, which is why I am here today requesting acceptance. This specific SMAP will be focusing on the East Narrows group, which centers around East Bremerton from Warren Bridge down into Manette. A little bit of statistics about this area, this group. It's 1,200 acres total, with 64% of it located inside city limits. The SMAP process will only look at areas inside city limits, and 81% of this area is developed. So impervious surface, pollution generating surfaces, surfaces of that nature. There is a match from the Stormwater Utility Fund of $44,610. And this is an ongoing procedure from our stormwater group of prior SMAPs, including basin prioritizations, Kitsap Lake Basin Action Plan, Oyster and Ostrich Bay Action Plans, and the West Narrows SMAP that we just completed.
Great. Anybody have questions?
This came through Public Works. We
Yeah.
discussed it there. Yeah.
So I have a question. That seeing as you're doing all the portions that are within city limits, is the county going to be doing it in the UGA that is not in city limits in the same area?
I'm not familiar with how the county is handling their SMAP procedures. The SMAP is a permit requirement from the Department of Ecology through the MPDS stormwater permit. So they're required to do an SMAP, but how they conduct that SMAP is kind of up to them. So I'm not familiar with what they're currently planning.
Yeah, because water crosses lines. So it'd be nice to see, especially there's some areas of the UGA out there that really need to be carefully monitored. So I appreciate your work in getting this grant. on it?
Yeah, just, my notes from the Public Works Committee meeting are that you were looking at, water quality and habitat, but here I'm just seeing water quality.
Water quality and habitat are lumped into one measure. Other measures would be beneficial uses. So if people are swimming, if there's commercial harvest of oysters or stuff.
Do
of
we
that
have
nature.
that in Bremerton?
No,
Like
but
especially the swimming?
yes, Kitsap Lake.
Okay. Okay,
There's
thanks.
other swimming, it's just isn't.
I just wanted to check on that habitat thing. Thank you
That
very
is
much.
part of that. Thank you.
You're not supposed to swim in my part. Oh, sorry, did I say that to them?
Yeah, this is Swim Alliance Park. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So how should we handle this? Consent in general.
Consent. Consent.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Sorry, what about when you have to put your kayak in?
Well, that you don't swim, you're floating.
Depends on how
So
you
how's
get
that
in the
water?
kayak.
So no breaststrokes,
Nope.
just feet in.
Nope. Okay.
Okay, not right now. Moving right along.
Next, I would
Not
like
right
to
now,
welcome Water Utility Manager Cami Alphabet here to present item B3, amendment number 1 to the interlocal agreement for water supply with the city of Port Orchard. Hi, Cami.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. As much as I dearly love to physically be in your presence, I chose to join tonight virtually just so that I could have several things loaded up just in anticipation of questions so I could share much more easily from my office. But I am with you there in spirit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So what I'm presenting to council today for your consideration is an amendment to an interlocal agreement that we have with the city of Port Orchard to sell water to the city of Port Orchard. This is the original agreement. We've been under agreement with the city of Port Orchard actually for 50 years. The original agreement through this intertie was actually put in place in 1975. So this is not something new. We've been selling water to Port Orchard for that many years as we've both been developing that area, putting infrastructure in place to become more independent. And so this amendment is actually amending the most current agreement, which was put in place in 2014. And the amendment will allow us to apply the cost of the water that we provide to Port Orchard through that intertie to the cost of a purchase of assets in a different pressure zone, the 580 zone, under a separate ILA. So the amendment coming before you today is on the 2014 ILA for water supply through the intertie to Port Orchard. And let's see, what else do I want to say about that? We anticipate the reason why this came to the city, the reason why we're making this amendment is the city of Port Orchard had a production well that lost production and it needs some maintenance. So to get them through the high demand hump of the summertime until they can get that maintenance done, they have asked if we could provide water through that intertie. I had them provide the amount of water they anticipated that they would need, confirmed that we have that surplus, and that we could provide that water through that intertie. So in lieu of them having to, as I'm sure you can understand, the pain of facing an expense you weren't anticipating, in lieu of writing us a check, it is to our benefit to apply that cost to the purchase of the 580 zone assets. So this amendment just puts a provision in the contract to allow us to do that.
Cami, do you have the visuals that you shared during the Public Works
It looks
Committee?
like, is this the visual?
Yeah,
It's in our packet.
it
Yeah, we
is.
want to
I'm
make sure
just,
the public.
I'm just
I-
wondering if the public's use, because that was very helpful to me.
So I do have a couple of visuals. Hopefully this one will be a little bit better, but I'm going to share. Let me start out first of all. Let me let's see, share. So
And maybe an explanation about what a 580 zone is.
yes. So the first thing I want to point out I said that there were two different ILAs, where I was inferring there are two different ILAs. So the ILA, that's the subject that we're talking about tonight, actually, and please confirm that you can see my cursor.
Yes, we
The
can.
arrow. Okay, thank you. So this area right here, goes around Gorst, and it heads towards, it's Highway 16 that heads towards the city of Port Orchard. And then if you're familiar with the area, there's an exit for Anderson Hill Road. If you get on Anderson Hill Road, right near A1 Roofing, that company, there's an intertie in Anderson Hill Road that connects the city of Bremerton's water system to the city of Port Orchard's water system. And that is the intertie, that is the subject of the ILA that we're talking about tonight. We can put water through that intertie into the city of Port Orchard's transmission main that goes from that location all the way to downtown Port Orchard. And that is the 260 zone for the city of Port Orchard. Okay, that's the intertie, and that's how we supplement their supply for what we call their main system or their downtown system. Now, the 580 zone agreement that we were talking about, whereby the city is purchasing assets in the 580 zone from the city of Port Orchard, that's this green and pink area here. The green is actually the city's service area in the 580 zone. And if you're familiar with the term, this is Anderson Creek Wellfield. Right here where all the yellow stars are, those are our wells. The pink area is Port Orchard's service area within the 580 zone. So we have a separate ILA that governs what the shared responsibilities are and how we both manage the 580 zone. So we have an ILA whereby we are through the cost of, well, let me back up and say, so we both pump in this 580 zone, we both pump from our individual sources into a shared reservoir. And I'm gonna stop sharing this briefly. Where's my stop share? And I want to share a different graphic if you will bear with me. Let's see, might be the same, but I have to pick a different tab. Hold on. I think what's happening is it's hidden here behind this. I need to move that out of the way. There we go. Google Maps. This is where I wanted to go. Okay. Can you see the Google Maps
Yes.
aerial? Okay. So that area we were just looking at, this area is the city of Bremerton's service area in the 580 zone. This is Anderson Hill Road heading south, and it connects with Old Clifton Road that trends east and west. This is our portion of the service area, the 580. To the south of Old Clifton Road, that was the pink area. That's the city of Port Orchard service area. And if you follow Old Clifton Road to the west, you eventually get to this location here. If you can see those green dots there, those are reservoirs. And there's a dot right here. This is a shared reservoir right there, where it's owned by the city of Port Orchard right now. We both collectively pump water into it, and we both utilize a transmission main that runs along Old Clifton Road back to the east in order to serve our respective zones. So we both pump into that and we both pull out of it. So when the city of Port Orchard pulls more out of it than they put in, that amount of water has a cost associated with it. That's the sale of water that we're using to purchase the assets in the 580 zone, of which the reservoir is one of them. We'll be purchasing that shared reservoir from them. So I'm just going to zoom back out again so you can, so the reservoir is over here, but the service area really is in this area and to the south. That's the 580 zone when you hear us talk about the 580 zone.
Great. And then Cami, could you also, I know we discussed selling our water and how water is our precious resource here in Bremerton. We're really fortunate to have it. And as times are changing, evolution and all of that, that it's becoming more and more precious. And you expounded on that a little bit in the Public Works Committee and said that you all were paying attention to that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm trying to recall the specifics, but yes, we do. I will point out a few things. The agreement that we have with the city of Port Orchard to supply water, those clearly state that it would not be an uninterruptible supply, meaning anytime that we have to curtail use, our customers and the Navy are priority. And what we sell to the city of Port Orchard is called surplus. If we have a surplus to sell, we sell it. If we don't, we don't. And during, if we were to have a drought whereby we have to curtail water use, they also have to curtail water use. And so there is an area, again, I didn't want to get too far off into the 580 zone, but I will say, you know, we, as part of our agreement with them, we did put requirements in there for them to do focused education and outreach on water conservation in the 580 zone because it is a high water use zone. And so that was there were a couple of reasons why that was happening, and we targeted those and said you need to work very hard to reduce your customers' water use in that zone to come into alignment with the rest of our zones, because as a whole, city of Bremerton does an excellent job. Maybe that's what I was talking about. We, compared to all of our neighbors in the state, our per capita water use is quite low. Per household, actually, it's only about 100 and I want to say about 180-ish, gallons per day. And the regional average is over 200. So our customers do a great job with water conservation, and we would like to see anyone that we provide water to doing an equal amount of effort to reduce.
You say that it's high in the 580 zone. Is that because of McCormick Woods and lawns and that type of thing? What is it?
Yes, so that's one of the reasons. There's two primary reasons behind that water use. The first one was, if you're familiar with the McCormick Village splash pad or the McCormick Village Park, it has a splash pad. And that splash pad, when it was originally built, was not built with a recirculation system. It would just pull water continuously to run, and it is a huge water user. And so as part of this agreement, we required the city of Port Orchard to install recirculation on that splash pad, and they have done that. Another contributor was, unfortunately, as part of the homeowners association covenants that run with the title of the properties for several of those McCormick communities, it was a requirement of the homeowners association covenant that you had to keep your lawn green year round.
Yep.
Bright green, nice green.
Can you do it with paint? Can you just simply do it with paint?
No, they were not accepting artificial turf either. And so you can imagine it took a lot of water to keep their lawns green. And they were primarily lawns. I think most of us have seen modern development, right? The subdivisions, they pretty much put down a lot of grass and one or two bushes and call it good. And so grass is a huge, water demand. So again, the education outreach, we required them to do focused education outreach in those communities to encourage less lawn and more native drought tolerant plants, which can still be beautiful landscaping and it can look beautiful year round, and it just doesn't require the amount of water that grass does. So those are two efforts.
Something that would fill out into DCD around planning for new development, putting requirements in there for only a certain amount of lawn or whatever. Anyway.
Yes, Otter?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, I believe that what Denise is referring to is she brought up the fact that the ongoing and accelerating climate crisis is going to
cause increased drought, increased dryness, increased extreme events. And you sort of answered that by saying this is surplus, and if we don't have surplus, we don't have. But yeah, I think everybody is looking forward to, well, not looking forward in the usual way, but looking ahead to a future where clean drinkable water is not something you like waste on a lawn.
Yeah.
But that's another committee or commission.
I'm growing corn this year. It has to be watered twice a day.
Corn.
So,
And strips the soil of nitrogen. My
I
second,
have peas in there too.
fair enough. My second
Save it
and
for
last,
after the
my second and last question, there we go, is, you said in the committee that you're pulling water from the shared reservoir. Is this water coming from wells or from the reservoir behind Cassette?
It's coming from wells. It's coming from the Anderson Creek wells. It can, if we need to pull it from the 256 zone, which is the zone that pulls from both the surface water supply and some additional wells up by the golf course. If we need to pull it from there, we can, but primarily it's pulling it from Anderson Creek well field.
They need it for their lawns to be green, I'm sure. Sorry.
And I said that was my final question, but I'm sorry, I just have one more, which is really for the public. You're charging City of Port Orchard 95% of the outside city limits rate of 150%. So you're charging them 95% of the 150% rate.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions about
No.
this issue? Okay, so how should we treat this item? Consent or general business?
Consent.
Consent. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Have a
thank
good
you.
Thanks, Yami.
All right. Good
Next
night.
time, yes. Okay, next I would like to welcome City Attorney Kylie Fennell here to present item B4. Ordinance establishing Bremerton Municipal Code Section 11.18.080 entitled Renaming and Honorary Renaming of Public Streets.
I'd like to bring the
Okay, sure.
phoning a friend.
Your lifeline? Okay. What page? Did you get?
Oh, did you get the
She
shirt?
got the tricks.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But didn't it go down really slow?
Really fast.
Oh, it went down really fast.
You wanted
Yeah,
to
we
come-
need new chairs.
Yeah.
Because we have these chairs.
We're saving, well, look, taxpayers are happy with us having.
We don't need all new.
Okay,
We're not gonna replace the mayor's chair.
I'm so sorry. I put it down there.
Counselors again, you never know.
Okay.
okay,
Hey, ordinance.
okay, so, this was, put on after it was on general business last week. And what I've put before you for the study session is, a code version has renaming of official street renaming and honorary street. Naming as options, but it might be helpful just to kind of backtrack and just have a general discussion about where we're at. And that's why I brought Katie, because she has some history. And I think that would be helpful to hear about how she was involved in this, and then it came over to the council, and it sounds like that maybe that would be a good place to pick up, is to get the backstory.
Yeah, so I was tapped towards the end of last year to help Dr. Lillian and the group to bring this request to rename 8th Street forward. And we outlined a process that was based on the same process that we used for the renaming of Martin Luther King Jr. Way. And so I kind of outlined that process for them and communicated with them about what steps were theirs to complete and where we would help. So some of the things that we did is we helped them get all of the addresses that would be impacted. The 8th Street name change that was discussed was from Warren Avenue to Pacific. So just a shortened section. And then we asked them to send a letter to all of the addresses and all of the potential tenants, because there are quite a few that look like they're probably rentals on that street. So send letters to both parties to let them know that the group wants to change the name and to have a community meeting about that. And they did that. Okay. We had a community meeting at the Marvin Williams Center. A couple of people from the community came. Kids Up Community Resources was there. They have a building that is on 8th Street and support the name change. They wanted to come and show their support. And at the community meeting, we talked through what was left to do of the process and kind of what the next steps were, talked about concerns. And again, there weren't a lot of folks who were from the neighborhood at that meeting. So we encouraged them to, get out there, door knock, make sure everybody knows what's going on. And then the next step was to put the item, bring an item to City Council for consideration. And once I have the dates for when it goes to City Council, then I can send a letter from the city saying this group is asking us to change the name, and then letting them know when it's going to be discussed at City Council so that they can then come and have their voice heard at a city council meeting at a specific date. So the date, getting those dates is kind of a key part of the process that we laid out for them.
Real quick, did you say between Warren and Pacific or Warren and Park?
Warren and Pacific.
Okay, it's not a continuous.
No, it's not. It kind of jogs a little bit, but that was like the kind of
Got it.
And major street to major street.
I used to live on this block. That was the first interaction that this group had, that the advocates had with the city of Bremerton. Was the at the end of 2025?
That's just when I'm just speaking about when I got involved with the project. I think the idea had been tossed around for a few years. There were some talks about it being possibly 6th Street. There was some questions about like what possibly could we do for the name itself, because Bishop Robertson Way is a long name. Yeah, so it was like, okay, well, how do we figure that part of it out? So there was some of that happened before.
So with whom were they speaking for the previous years?
I know that they talked to Tom Nucky, and I think they spoke with the mayor as well.
Can I interject something?
I would love to hear. Yeah, I would love to hear from the council president.
So yesterday we met with quite a large group, about 8 or 9 community members. And they said that they had started discussions with various staff members and the mayor prior to COVID, and then COVID kind of stopped everything. And then they got more serious about it this year. And
over 7 years ago, they began talking to city of Bremerton.
That's what we were told, yes.
But it is pre-COVID. Pre-COVID. Because for me, that was like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I had no idea.
Right, me neither.
I didn't know about this history either.
Yeah.
A community, and this is like a process that has occurred. And we were not briefed. I wasn't briefed.
But there's no formal process.
But there's more information. So
let's also, I think the reason that the city attorney came to us with policy is because there was no policy.
Right.
Sure.
It had happened out of goodwill and city council members being requested by the community around Martin Luther King. But there was no There's,
But
when you
that's
say
obvious.
process, it wasn't really a formal process. It was a, oh, wait, last time we did this was such and such, and this is the way we did it. So it seems like there was an assumption that we would just do it like we did before.
But it still is not formal. Like
Right,
there's
right.
nothing in writing from all of the property owners or renters.
And yet,
It was encouraged, but
Yeah.
we don't have anything like that yet.
and yet, when this was presented to us by you, City Attorney Fennell, there was no context about the fact that we needed a policy because this had been going on for years, informally, as
Well,
it was.
I don't know that.
And
Attorney
that, I
Fennell
think,
knew.
is information that really would have been of use to us.
Well, I think it's not like we're
Can
making
we
a
have
decision tonight,
Sorry,
but-
yeah, are
but-
we discussing the ordinance and doing the ordinance, or are we discussing a group that would like to rename a very specific street after a very specific person?
Right, because those are two different things.
This is, yeah,
And when we did talk about it, and maybe you weren't there, there was a memo that had the history and it said we've received a request. And it's
Okay.
been, I think Christy had met with people, Jay had met with people that were pursuing their request.
This
I will
spring.
say, I did not, my
Okay.
records only went back about a year. I think that's when it became, I think there was more activity within the last year. And that was in that memo, but the focus was on a policy, because my understanding was that the council did not want to address the specific request, and that the council wanted a policy, and so we set the specific request aside and focus on the policy. But if you want to instead grant the specific request and not do a policy, you can do that too.
We
It's
could
up-
even
want a
do grant the
policy.
request and have a
You can
policy.
do all of these things.
is that what's before us though? Because
What is on the agenda tonight is
Right.
I just put forward the different ordinance. So if you recall, when we were talking about policy in the last 6 weeks or so, I said, there's a lot of leeway. You can change this in a lot of different ways. And there were two versions that I put forward. One was for official renaming and an honorary naming. And then there was one that was for honorary only. It sounded like from one of those discussions that we had at the end of May that a lot of the council only wanted honorary. And so that was the one that went forward. And then we heard feedback last night that the group for this specific request doesn't want an honorary name. They want an official renaming. And so if you want to do that, you can do that. You don't have to go through this policy. You can do what Katie has explained was what happened with the change of 7th Street, and approve the request without going through any sort of policy or not. But what's on the agenda tonight is not that specific request. However, you're welcome to talk about it and set that as another option for how you want to proceed.
So, okay.
Okay.
Here's how I feel. I feel we have gone about this without being authentic to the reason behind it. To kind of try to say, well, we have this on the agenda. It has nothing to do with this request. It clearly does have to do with the request. So if we could just honor that. And also, I appreciate the reiteration of the history of it, because this policy is a direct result of the request that we knew was coming.
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand which is like chicken egg. We got a chicken egg scenario, you know? And so I think I was expecting that we would have a conversation specifically about the request, which do we have a formal request?
I'm wondering, so if we have a formal request, then we can absolutely discuss.
But I don't know that we have a formal process
We
for
don't
this
have a
request.
formal process.
So that's why we don't have a formal request, but we do have a,
Just asking us, the
Okay.
council to make the change.
that's as formal enough as I need,
Right.
is a letter to city council requesting this change. That's a form, that's right, that's public record, that's a formal request as far as I'm concerned, because we don't have a process, right? And so I would love to find out from the rest of y'all if you want to spend time, a certain amount of time, Council President, on specifically discussing the request to name the sections of streets that were outlined, or if we want to stick with just this ordinance, because there's people that are tuning in. They want to know specifically about this request that we know is in front of us.
But
Well-
the request isn't in front of us.
Well,
It is in front of us.
There's
There's
two
no
things, right? So number one, we can't just do, if we want to go ahead with their proposal that we rename these two blocks.
Or discuss it
Wait,
for,
Let me finish,
sorry,
please.
go ahead, yes. apologies.
That's one discussion, right? If we
Yes.
want to set a policy for future, so we don't have to go through
Mhm.
all of this, and so that staff knows this, and this
Mhm.
has to be done, that's another one.
I
Right?
understand, I mean, I understand, I understand the nuance of this. How did the conversation go with the group yesterday when you met with them?
When I met with them
I would love to
yesterday,
hear a debrief on that, more than
Okay.
just a little bit of the history, like how, like, tell us about how
okay,
that.
a lot of the discussion was giving me and Kylie and the background again of the bishop, which,
Okay.
we're all pretty familiar with them. And then they talked about the method that they use to inform the community.
Okay.
And that they didn't feel honorary was appropriate. They wanted it to be more of a historical marker, I think is the term that was
Can you
used.
speak more about the method?
Well, at the method, they said that they had a community meeting where everyone was invited with the addresses, and the owners and the property owners.
They did door knockers.
They did door knockers, but that,
They
so,
didn't look at the door knockers. They knocked on doors.
Okay.
so,
They
yeah,
had,
so
they
that's,
had door knockers.
So they sent to the
Physical.
property owners the listed address of the property owner.
they
and
didn't
then-
say that.
Right.
They did not say that. So I don't know that property owners were actually, like, if they were a rental, I don't know that the property owners were notified.
Yeah,
Katie can
they,
speak to that.
yeah, let me give you a
The
little. bit more
methodology,
detail
one of the
about, like,
methodology of the survey.
Yeah,
Or
okay, so I supplied them with a list of all of the property owners and then all of the properties that had property owners that did not live at the same address, which indicates that is probably a rental, right?
Right.
So there are 27 properties total that would be impacted by the name change. 3 of those are unaddressed parcels. So then that's 24 properties. Of those 24 properties, it looks like 16 are likely rentals. And there are 19 unique owners because there are several, there are owners who owns several different
501, 503,
Yeah.
505, 506 are all those.
yeah, so altogether, when you count notifying all of the rentals and all of the addresses or all the property owners, it was like 43 notifications that need to go out for this.
So go out by mail? Is that what you asked?
They sent notifications by mail. And that was, to present there, like, this is what we would like to do. Please come in this community meeting and talk with us about the process. And then once we had done that and felt like we had had some good outreach, then we requested that it be placed on the council agenda, so that then we could send out from the city a letter that says this council is going to consider this. These are the dates that it's going to be considered on.
Right.
And that way we would know from the city, like, I know I sent letters to all 43 of these addresses and they know what date they can come and talk to you about, how they support it or don't support it.
I was gonna say, and so yesterday we talked about that process with the group, and if the council wants to go in with this process, it would be to select a date, and we talked about toward the end of the summer.
Yes.
So that, and we don't have to select it right now. What I would say that we would do is have our legislative office manager work with the group to select a date that works for them, but looking forward to end of August, and they were fine with that, so that we could, one, prepare a resolution for the council to consider. It would come ahead of that to the study session, but we could set public hearing with the residents in that area to have it on a council agenda well in advance. So if we did that, we would be looking at probably either the 19th or even the first meeting in September. I know Dr. Lilly mentioned that Bishop Robinson's birthday was at the end of August.
I see why they want it that way. I guess I never really paid attention that across Park Avenue is Martin Luther King Way as well. So they wanted to run parallel in that way. First of all, just looking at the parcels, there's so many fewer parcels that were affected by the renaming, Dr. Martin Luther King Way. Can you tell me about the process that was used for that renaming?
The whole U-shaped apartment building. That's a lot of apartments.
Not, yeah, I know that one. I know that one well. That one is a lot of apartment, but I'm talking about like, in comparison, you're right, it is a lot of apartments. Actually, side note, my kid's dad lived there anyway, I lived on this block when I was 19.
We can say that.
Yeah, so for accident meeting.
That's not germane.
That's germane. So, I mean, like this block, so what was the process for naming it for Dr. Martin Luther?
It was essentially very close to the process that we used here. So they sent notifications out to all of the addresses that would be impacted. They held a public meeting. They did a lot of door knocking. I know that Mayor Wheeler was very involved in that process.
Yeah.
He was a city council. Yeah.
Me, myself.
Yeah. And there wound up being 2 public meetings, but my understanding is that because at some point in the process they had discussed possibly doing a different street instead, or there was some hiccup in the process, and so they had had the public meeting, and then there was some time that passed, and then so because of the time that had passed, they decided there was a second public meeting, and then it came to council for consideration after that. They did not have a petition of property owners. They did. I think they might have had just a general petition, but not specifically of property or
Were there people that reported afterwards of negative effects of having their address changed? The ones that we've talked about are potential, which is what we were discouraged by, right? Were there residents that described having negative effects in their credit report, that it was problematic for their passports, driver's licenses, things like that?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
They generally wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't complain.
They wouldn't complain? I would complain. I don't know.
It'd be a done deal, so you couldn't, I mean.
Well, what I'm saying
Mysterious
is,
forces changed the name of my street. They wouldn't know who to complain to.
Yeah. But good question,
Well,
because they might have.
no, it's not a dumb question, y'all.
I didn't say it was.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, people would have reported back potentially. I'm trying to find out if these are the things that scared us away from enacting the formal street and put us more towards the honorary. So I want to know if anybody reported any of these negative things that were thrown out there as things to be.
I don't know. I don't know that I would know, because they might have.
I don't remember any.
Yeah, and would that have been Mayor Lent at the time when it actually changed?
Yes.
So it could be like in her email or.
Well, you were on council at the time, weren't you? Did you hear anybody complain about those kinds of things? Okay.
But I knocked on the doors probably 3 times too.
Well, we are, okay, we know Mayor Wheeler's a door
he does
knocker. Speaking of door knockers, he's the ultimate. So we know you did hit those doors, and and I think that was probably a big reason why the public was so much, so educated, was because that too. And I'm sure that's what they emulated in the second process.
I will say that through this process, we have really encouraged the group to make sure that you do all of the outreach before it comes to that council date, because you don't want folks to be surprised by this, and come and talk to council and be upset or have felt blindsided. We also talked about the administrative burden that would happen with this possible change, and the group was very thoughtful about that, and we had tossed around ideas of potentially having like an office hours, and Kitsap Community Resources jumped on the idea too of like they have a computer lab, so they could have open hours where people could come in and actually get a little bit of help with that administrative burden. And I talked to Dr. Lillian today, just kind of check with her, like, oh, is that still an idea? And she was all for it. So I think that they're on board to help people through this transition rather than just
kind of technology burden. But we're not talking about the monetary burden of what it costs to change something. So that's just the technology burden.
Yes.
Okay. Because that needs to be clear too. Because I mean, if you just Google if the city changed my street name, how much is it going to cost me? The little fun Google AI thing says between $500 and $1,000 per property. And then if you're the property owner, it gives you another amount between 500 and 2,000. Just straight Google. And so that's another concern with this, is it not just the administrative burdens, the cost, the technology that I'm going to be honest, I never even thought of somebody that doesn't have the technology or the abilities to actually go forward for all the online things that
You're
need to
sitting
change.
next to one.
Well, okay, I will help you with your computer. But there is that secondary thing with like getting a new driver's license that costs money. Like all of it. If you are lucky enough to have a passport, they do not care. Like you're getting a new passport.
You don't have to get a new driver's license when you change your address.
You can do a change of address.
You don't. Yeah.
I would like to have stuff match because there's certain things that
You certainly need to do it on all your credit cards.
Yeah.
So
Your mortgage.
All
but
of that.
there is, and to follow up. So I didn't know we would be talking about this last night or tonight.
Yeah.
So I've been doing stuff on this. And so of 22 properties on 8 that would be affected with an address change, I found phone numbers and contacted 13
Nice.
people on 22 different property numbers and have left messages. Now, what I've done is done it as a completely generic, the city council is looking at an ordinance. It would be a street renaming, and like leaving anything. The only thing that I say is your street is in my district and has been identified as one of the early ones that this may be a possibility for. And 2 addresses, they said that was the first time they had ever heard of it. And for those ones, and then I had somebody, and that's how I knew all the addresses, that said it would be a massive burden for them as the property owner for all of those. And then they have renters in those as well, that we've actually received emails from one of those renters already letting us know that it's a burden to the business. So that is one thing. And I made sure I went through all public facing materials because people tend to think we have access to other things here in the city. I know, right? But we very much do not. I put on an old school hat when I was doing child support enforcement of how to find people's personal information, and just started finding people and cold calling them this week. So I'm not getting the same opinions from the folks that I am getting feedback on, that they have had this outreach for it. And again, I have to be very, very clear. Absolutely no names are used. And it's not from any other lens other than the city council is looking at creating a policy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do like that at least the plan now is for the city, being you, Katie, sending out letters to make sure it gets to everyone. I mean, you knock on somebody's door 5 times and they don't answer, you're not going to go back again, right? So with a letter going out to each property owner and tenant, is that the plan? Both the tenants
It's
and
only
the
property
owner?
owners in the ordinance we're looking at tonight.
Okay.
But we can
Well,
add wording.
we can change
Yeah.
that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, the ordinance, we're just to make it clear, we're talking about 2 different things.
Right.
The process being proposed by Katie has nothing to do with what you see in your packet.
Mhm.
There's no petition requirement. So this is a different option based on our meeting yesterday.
Mhm.
I'm curious if there's okay. It just feels like it would be
I'm baffled and confused. So after you.
it would be possible to consider the shorter segment between Park and Warren, and there'd be less people impacted. Was any of that discussed?
No, we didn't discuss that.
It's far less people impacted.
I
Um,
agree.
and it's still,
So we have some input on that. Like, I know that staff in like public works and emergency management, none of them working right now. They don't like the shorter segment, that are broken up. And so I don't know if it would apply to what you're proposing.
they don't like the shorter segments broken up, renamed.
Right.
They want
And
to
they
stay
would
8th Street.
prefer that, no, they would prefer it be not just a small second, like if it's a
Okay.
continuous street, they don't want it to be where you're driving
It's
along.
not continuous.
Yeah,
Right.
it jogs.
Well, no,
John's
it would
a
be
little bit,
Faith
but-
and then, Christie. We're gonna rename this block Christie.
Mhm.
And then 8th again.
Yeah, they
Well,
want to
so-
avoid that. I'm just saying, I
Okay.
don't know if that applies there, but we would want to.
Christie Block.
Just Christie block,
Right.
right? It's easier. It doesn't call
Oh, I
anybody
see,
out.
okay, I see it ends
The
there
Christie
on
way.
Pacific.
Yeah, just,
Okay, 8th
just,
Street ends
I
on
don't even
Pacific.
want it. It's like share. No street, no way.
Okay.
So I'm baffled and confused at this point. We have the information that we had up until last week, right?
Mhm.
Which was out of the blue a few months ago. 3 or 4 people wanted to rename 8th Street. That's the information we had up until like, I think the 6th, when we got that long list of names of people who wanted 8th Street renamed after Bishop Robertson. So we had that, and then we heard from the community about information that we had lacked. And now we have this ordinance that's in front of us, and now we have this ordinance that's the way Public Works has
It's not an
been.
ordinance.
There's not
We
a,
have this process that is the way Public Works has been doing things that is written down somewhere.
no, and
That's
that's
just in the institutional memory.
It's just how it was done
Okay.
for 7th.
Okay,
we have code for regular street
Yes.
naming.
Yeah.
So we don't do this very often. I only know of 3 in the past 30 years, right? Or
Yeah.
this is the 3rd.
And some of the time in, past years, I'm like, well, how do we do this?
Right.
Right, so here's, okay, so let's, okay, 10,000 for you. So we enact an ordinance. Okay, this happens all the time with policy. And then administration interprets policy in the form of protocol. So you have done your best to make a protocol. So we don't have to have every detail of the protocol outlined in our ordinance. It would be interpreted by administration as such. We could if we wanted to, but that would be a little micromanaging. It sounds like there's a process of a status quo that's happening, so.
You have authority to make the change in the absence of them. So we did it for 7th. You don't have to have a policy. And so just to back it up on one thing, I do want to apologize to you. I wrote back at my memo, and I know I was working with Jane. Jane and I met with the group before.
We met with just Dr. Lillian.
And I think
Yesterday was a whole group.
but there were more people with her the first time. I think,
I think just one person.
So not everybody got the memo
Dr. Lillian.
that you
No,
were
no, no.
referring to.
The memo was on there. It referenced
Robertson,
their
Dr.
request.
Robertson.
It didn't say that it, like I said, my
Okay.
Yeah.
information went back
Just got
to,
2.
Thank you.
I guess, Tom Nucky, 2025. I didn't have information on all of that. I did not put that. I went with the memo that was in the packet, talked about the request that was made to city council. It was the formal request. And so I apologize. But I think that Christy was were you at the open house?
No, I got invited like the night before. Didn't
Okay.
know what's happening.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we had met, and then that was when, and they knew that the recommendation was gonna be that there's no policies, there's no way for the council to evaluate the request, right?
There's no
Right.
method.
There's no method or anything, and they were, not opposed to the council developing that. I think where, things went,
Sideways.
was that they were really and continue to be very for official street renaming and not an honorary. And so in our development of the policy, I don't think that was a surprise to them. I think we had talked about that there was going to be a policy developed. It was that it was going to be a policy that didn't get them where they wanted to be, and they wanted that street renamed.
Right.
And so I think if you recall, going back to the end of, had we had both of those options forward, I don't know that last week would have gone the same way, but the one that went forward was for honorary only. They were expecting to be able to still petition for official street renaming, but the idea that we were moving forward with developing a policy, that wasn't a surprise. We had been
We've been talking about it.
They
yeah.
didn't know, but like this group had nowhere on their radar that honorary was going to be part of it. They assumed we were.
They thought that was going to be a part of it, but they thought that official would still be, I think, maybe.
They thought it was going to be two.
They thought it would be more like what we're looking at tonight. Is that
Right.
correct?
They thought there would be two,
Pretend-
and we'd be voting for one or
pretend
the
you're not
other.
looking at
I don't know about
anything.
the particular,
Okay.
the council had said that they wanted it to be very strenuous criteria.
Mhm.
I don't know if they did not weigh in on the criteria that are in our draft of strenuousness, but, you know, so I can't speak to that, but just the concept that there was going to be a policy, was certainly discussed. I don't think that was a surprise. But again, you don't have to have that if you want to just go forward with, the status quo.
So here's what the community group would like. You want to hear that first, or you want to ask a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. What they would like is for us to pass a resolution sometime in August to officially rename the street. We told them that we still need a policy, but we can't do a policy until after we do a resolution, because a policy would negate it, right? So if you want to rename the street officially, that has to be done first. And that would go through general business, so everybody
Unless
can
we
give it.
cater the policy to the request, which is
No.
recommended.
Yeah, I'm not gonna,
Okay. But I still really appreciate that we're hearing some feedback. I
Mhm.
mean, like, this is what I'm saying, is like, maybe people wouldn't have known how to complain about the little inconveniences
Yeah.
and monetarily things that were
Mhm.
happening. And we can talk about it after the meeting, but when I lived on that block, I was a poor mom.
yeah.
You know, like everybody around me was poor. And to have to, I don't even think I could afford a license and insurance at the same time when I lived there. So like
You
even,
told us that.
so
Yeah, everybody.
I'm just saying, like, everybody around there, you know, not everybody, but a lot of folks around there are gonna be financially strapped, and I wanna respect that too.
Okay, so Rick's been very patient.
I'm sorry, Rick, I apologize.
Okay, I see this as two different things.
Mhm.
I do believe that this ordinance is somebody who comes in next week and wants to do a change to a street. Now the mayor has something to hand them and say, here's the how-to guide, because this says they start the process.
Grandmother, than
However,
It's called legacy now.
I
We
was
don't
gonna
use
say,
grandfather.
Really bad term,
Yeah.
like it's.
How about Grammy? Is that
Okay.
better?
Sorry.
with this particular case, I think since
Nana.
it started before this, it
Yeah.
stands alone.
Yes.
Mhm.
And, you know, some of these requirements are necessary, and it sounds like they've done many of them. But for me, it seems important for us to have a process going forward, which is what
Sure,
this
and I think
document
it would be
is.
great if the council wants to put this forward and have this council watch the process and what do you call it, the Katie method? I know it's not that, the historic process that we went through with 7. And then that can inform the ongoing policy. So you can see, you know, what is 75% too onerous? Is it not enough? Or is it whatever? Do we want more? So you can use that as, you know, feedback for.
Has to
That's a
include
good point.
residents As well as property owners.
I
Both.
love it.
Are we in agreement on that? Residents and property owners?
I'm in agreement on
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
the
But-
property owners have been so good about thinking, like, the first thing out of their mouth is, well, have you talked to the person renting? And it was like, oh my God, that makes my heart feel really good.
Yeah.
'Cause nobody's just making these arbitrary choices because they happen to be the property owner. Every single time I've gotten to actually talk to somebody, they have thought about their renters and what their situation is.
This brings us to, like, we need to study the correlation between people who will answer their phone and people who are generous and considerate of renters.
Sometimes it's text messages. I've been cold texting people. I have been sending emails like it's been,
She's a bird dog.
however, somebody likes communication.
So do we want to do this? What order do you want me to proceed?
I'd like a resolution to rename this street to be brought in August.
But, so I have a question though, on a resolution. If there are people who are strongly against it and they come out to speak against it, is it like a general business
Yeah.
item?
Maybe late
Yeah.
July then instead.
I think it's like, it's gonna,
It would have to be.
There's no assurance that it will pass.
Right, so they're gonna
It's
get
simply
notice
being
that
brought
it's gonna be
to.
considered, and then we're gonna have to come up with a resolution, and we talked
Right.
about that process yesterday.
Yep.
This is,
How about July 29th? Just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe late July would be better.
I think
No,
it might be helpful to have the
I'd like to come in
resolution
special
as a
for that.
study session on the 22nd of July, and then have the meeting scheduled sometime in August. Christy, go ahead.
I have a question. You kid on the block here. Do we have any way of ensuring that this meeting doesn't just become one big, I like it, I don't like it, shouting match between
No.
folks?
Yep, that's my
Okay.
job. And so if there's a huge
All right.
crowd, I just,
Look how nervous you are about it.
Well, I know, I just feel really bad. Like, that's the thing. So I
That's
feel like with
democracy in
this,
action.
I
if
cannot.
this is premature, then the group that is putting it forward isn't putting it forward with all the information that would alleviate a lot of this just coming down and being like, how dare you? And you're like, oh, well, I meant to talk to you. And like, it just seems like that's why I liked the ordinance first, because it laid out in a transparent way. We would want this, 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 and this. And when somebody brings that forward, then we have something to say, like, yes, this is how we make decisions. This is our recommendations to bring forward.
In writing.
These things, yes. And so that it's not just two sets of folks that are saying, I want this and you need to give it to me. And this other folks that says, how
That's what
dare
a
you do
public
this?
hearing
And like,
is, so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
go ahead.
I want to be careful with this. We've been talking about how they're two separate issues and yet they coincide timing wise. And that happens in life. So it sounds like we have enough of a process to depend on where we'd be sending notifications out ourselves. That carries, okay, we know that's done. We have public hearing, we make a decision on this. At the same time, we're building this policy. I don't think that we can create a policy and adopt it. I wouldn't be in support of creating a policy right now that would support this particular application. This application is it's kind of had its own process going on, and I want to respect that. That's what they were told to do, and so I don't want to make it more onerous on them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make it clear that if we do go forth with renaming and then adopt honorary only, right, that it was simply because this one had been already in the process, absent process, if that makes any difference.
All of the processes that I looked at in coming up with the one that's before you, they anticipate that there's going to be a lot of work done before it comes to the council and stuff. It's not like that you would just have the idea and show up at City Hall and grab it and then be like, oh, okay, this is what I need. Most of them understood that there would be a lot of, community outreach and discussion and coalition building and momentum before you start engaging in the, I guess, official renaming process. And so certainly didn't anticipate that they would have to like redo all of that or anything like that. For we to
And to reiterate, this council was very clear. I think it was majority, if not all of us, saying we want honorary only. That doesn't mean I'm saying that should be the case with this particular proposal, because it was already going on and there had been some assurances made there had been at least some insinuations that a permanent name change was possible. I don't want to take the rug out from underneath this group and say, because council now, feels that way. But I want to honor what this council has said, and that is because of all the things we've listed, we want honorary only. And it's not because necessarily of the bishop, it's because of the permanent name change. It's because this particular street and issue was being worked on outside of a formal process.
So we need to get a formal process in there before they have like a dog.
So you're saying promises were, if not made, intimated.
Yeah.
And so we respect that, and then we go back and make this policy.
Once the process had,
Once this is done.
right, but that a
Yeah.
permanent name change was possible.
I think that's fair to say that
Yeah.
that the council would consider
Yeah.
it. But we've been very clear through the whole process that like this is council's
Sure.
purview, and like you need to do all of that outreach. If you found that it hasn't been done, well then that's feedback that they need to hear, because if you've got to be prepared for council to consider this, and they could say no if they don't feel like enough has been done, or there's consensus in the community that this would be beneficial. So
We don't currently have anybody else trying to get a street renamed, right?
Do we need to do a moratorium? I would like to do that. I'd like to do a moratorium.
I think a moratorium
As
is a
soon as
great
it-
idea.
Except for this one.
Right.
Right, well, we're gonna legacy.
Moratorium.
We're gonna legacy it
accept
in.
work.
We're gonna Bubba it
No,
in.
it's
No future
If-
applications for permanent road
there's
changes.
no process, so you can't have an application anyway. What, do we need to have a formal process or something? It's not a formal process? No. We just need, I don't know. I mean, there's no conversations that have been had. So I don't know.
But it kicks open the door, and that's the same thing, that it's one today, it may be something else tomorrow.
We need a
That's-
policy.
That's our job at this
Obviously, we
table,
need a
is to
policy.
make sure that
Perhaps we could talk about
regardless
it
of
for
who's
another few
asking,
hours.
that they're
Are you
held to
ready
the same
for a
standard.
I'm ready for a cigarette.
I really am.
I am too.
Okay, so
So how do we want to move forward?
I think we need a straw poll, Council President, to see who wants to do the chicken before the egg or the egg before the chicken.
Okay, who wants to finish whatever the process ends up being for 8th Street first, and then do a formal policy afterwards?
This includes the moratorium on any other requests?
Yes.
We can't legally do a moratorium.
Temporary ban.
Maybe.
Don't answer your
Yeah.
email.
On the agenda.
Okay, so you got 4 of us.
Yo.
5.
Do 8th Street first, since it was already.
Yes,
That's a permanent street.
and then policy
And
after.
then
You're considering it. as
we're
that.
considering it. We're
Yeah,
not
that's
saying
what I
it's a
asked,
done deal.
Vote.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying,
Good work.
it's permanent, the honorary is not in the works on the 8th, like.
I like this. I like where we're at.
Well,
I mean, I think
I
it's an
think,
official process, so I think you could get.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if we're considering what is actually happening on 8th, and if that's the, carve out that we're doing right now, it has been made very, very clear by that group, it is absolute permanent, that is on the table, that is the
Right.
only ask.
Correct.
but
So
that's
if
why
that's
we're
what we're
having,
asking.
that's we're having a public
Yeah.
hearing about.
And that could change.
And so that could
We've all
change.
changed our
We haven't
minds on
said
it,
yes or
guys.
no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So thank
Right.
you. We have direction.
A little bit of this, a little bit of
After
that.
that, we will, take up the policy in the fall again, after we have some feedback from how it went.
In the
Katie
fall?
method.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if we're not taking up this until the end of August.
Yeah,
fall.
Yeah.
Maybe beginning of August. If it goes.
I think they wanted end of. what we talked about. We'll figure out the time.
Well,
That's what
It's Bishop's birthday.
Sure. I mean, you can get the signs up for the birthday, but we can do the policy earlier or the
No.
proclamation.
we don't have
Or
time
I
to
was gonna say,
do
we
it
also need to
earlier.
look at our agenda, it's not
Yeah.
just what.
Right.
This isn't like
Others.
number one.
It's not?
It's taking up the space of a number one.
I know it is. Okay, so you do have
We
enough.
want to give time for everyone to plan to get on
Yeah.
the calendars and get the letters out and all that. So we'll work on figuring out the date, and you guys will see it on your calendar.
And I'll
Good.
get some feedback about making sure that they have done lots and lots of outreach.
But you're gonna send out the letters.
Yes, 100%.
This is
Like there
now
will be an
a
official
notice.
city letter.
Mhm.
I'm neutral as far as
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yes.
people can call me, give me comments, then pass on to you, ask questions, things like that. But, you know, kind of neutral party as far as making sure that everybody knows what's going on.
Okay.
Outreach to those affected, property owners and renters. Very,
Yes.
very important.
Okay. All right, I think we're gonna
Take a break?
take a break now. So it's 6:45. We're coming back at 7 o'clock.
Dynamite. I'm gonna go outside
Can
and
you
get
pause?
warm.
I call this study session back to order. Next, we have an information-only presentation, the 2027-2028 budget planning overview. I'd like to welcome Finance Director Mike Riley here to present item C1.
All right, thank you, Council. Tim's up here with me. We're going to kind of do this in conjunction, so probably just roll right into the next one because it's kind of related. So, been working with the Council President, working with Jane and also Ann, and one of the requests was, can we get the Council kind of throughout study sessions to have some dialogue around budget, around maybe the departments, just have a back and forth dialogue to see how kind of some of it, I'll say, I don't like sort of processes. So there's a little more illumination on the process. We are still early in the development of the 27-28 budget, but I'll talk about some of the timelines. But I first want to start with what we've done already and where we're kind of heading within the study sessions and what's going to be kind of the topics for the rest of the summer. These can change, so just know that we might shift up a department or for rates and fees. But so just kind of looking at the beginning of the year, where the council retreat on January 24th that we attended, trying to identify those council priorities early. On March 19th, we did a joint town hall with Jane and Michaels. I think we had about 25 to 27 people there. Kind of did the workshop. On May 7th, we started having reoccurring discussions with Council President. Every 2 weeks, we have a reoccurring meeting. Myself and Lauren Ellington and Ann and Jane sit down, kind of go over, things that we're thinking about, things that are coming your way, what we could be bringing here. There's kind of a list of items. We've had council member requests that have come in. I know Christy, we sat down. We'll talk about that. I didn't add it in the list here, but we spent 3 hours. Feels like yesterday, but
I thought you were going to say feels like 3
So
years.
about a week and a half ago, had a really good conversation. But again, there was a generated list. We kind of worked through some of those topics as well. So you just see here on May 21st, we had that reoccurring meeting as well. On May 26th, in the Finance Investment Committee, it used to be PFIT, but we lost him, so I went back to the Finance Investment Committee. There's parking in there as well. We did talk about, we were able to close the 25 year and talk about where we landed for 26. You saw that in your mid-year packet, where our beginning fund balance for 2026 was just over 20%. Fund balance, where best practice was 16.67. Our targeted budget that we approved was at 13.1%. So where actuals landed for the beginning of this year is in a much better place than we had budgeted, and we had anticipated that to happen. But again, when it does materialize, it's good to show. So we showed a graphic kind of year over year in the Finance Committee of what that looks like.
Can I ask you, can I stop you right there? So when you do a budget, and let's say the published budget is $100, but you're really thinking you're only going to spend $95. Okay, because that's confusing to some members of the public.
It is.
They don't understand why.
Yep. And what happens, there's two sides of it. We budget 100% of our FTEs be fully funded all year long.
Okay.
We know with staff of just over 400, about 407 full-time equivalents, we know there's an attrition rate built into that. So we know we're not going to be fully staffed 12 months out of the year, but that is how we budgeted. So if we did have that, we know what that number is. And that's pretty consistent. A lot of places do that. It's a conservative way of budgeting, but that's how we've always presented it. So knowing there's going to be a savings of personnel because of attrition every year. On the other side is revenue projections. So the revenue projections, we're looking at sales tax. We are conservative in the city with our sales tax projections because again, it's a very volatile revenue source. We don't want to over budget. And then there could be one-time funds that come in, and also one-time some savings that maybe a project didn't get executed or something we were planning to do did not happen in the year. So in the mid-year packet, you'll see a carryover into the new year that you saw this year. But those are that is where the budget to where we actually end up every year. That is the variance.
Can I ask one really quick question about attrition? I think that's something, is that okay?
Yeah.
Really quick. Something that was discussed in the prior year was, how do we know what our attrition percentage is? How do we know what our attrition actually is? Is there like a generalized percentage? You just talked about fully funding all the FTEs. We don't have a specific percentage, but do you have I mean,
We trend it, it typically between 94 and 96%. Within the last few years, we've been trending it lower at like 92, 94.
and that's due to openings.
Openings, position openings, the labor market. If it's a strong labor market, there's a lot of opportunity. You'll see more turnover. And then when the labor market tightens, we expect that attrition rate to go down. So that's some of the compression and why we're having discussions to reduce that gap.
So anywhere from 5 to 7% is attrition. Okay, thank you.
Anna?
And that's, how does that compare to other cities that we typically compare ourselves to?
I haven't done a comparable to like our comps. I think we're somewhat unique in our region, how we're set up, but I'd say it's pretty comparable to cities like our makeup, see a Lakewood, they're bigger, but again, the type with the military installations, there's a lot more movement. And it's department centric. There's some departments that have a lot of turnover, and I think it might be the job, but I think we're pretty relative to other places.
So police always gives back money because they can never stay fully staffed.
And that is something we see across the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm going to stay on track.
Perfect. Thank you.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
So just come back in on June 10th, we brought the mid-year budget amendment to see where we end up with fund balance. The dollars that were there, what changes were made to the budget. And then again, we met on the 4th of June with Jane. Again, talking, and there's specific items we're going through that you'll see coming in future sessions that we're working on. Then you'll see on June 11th, I met with Ann, worked on the budget priority survey development. We had a meeting with myself, Ann, and then also Janice to talk about how to deploy the survey, some of the questions we had in there, best way to ask those questions, multilingual, things like that. We want to make sure that the survey was reaching a broad base and the best delivery method. On June 22nd, I think I got my first thought from picking the day. First time I heard about it, June 22nd, that the survey was starting to be distributed through your different methods and channels. So then I saw some more things today. So I actually went back in the survey today. I have taken it, not submitted it multiple times because just blind. I have not
Sure.
I have not clicked the submit button. It would say Parks is the best department. But it could
Not finance?
I tried. My fingers just
Is there a way for us to figure out people taking it multiple times?
Yeah.
That should be, I haven't looked at Survey Monkey, but usually you can the address.
Right.
The email address, but not like the IP address.
Yeah.
IP address, but like, and it's so confusing.
There was a memo from Kitsap Transit that I forwarded to council in 25 or 24 that laid out a whole method for how they had tracked multiple responses and made sure that the people who were responding were real. So maybe we could dig that out.
Yeah.
We'll have to look at the back end. It is a subscription. We have a SurveyMonkey. It's not the free version. This is the subscription. So there are metrics behind it. So, oh yeah, I'm sure Ann will take a look at that and be able to provide that for you. It is not locked down. That will restrict. We know that. It's not, you can take it multiple times. All right.
We can get rid of your second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah. So we sit here tonight, study session. What the discussion, Ann had asked, hey, maybe we could bring a department. And Jane had asked, well, maybe bring a department. We can ask some questions around budget. So I've got some metrics I'm going to share before we transition to Tim. Kind of give you what tonight's part. So what are they made up of? What does their budget look like? What are they operating with? What's their FTE count? What's the FTE count look like over a few years? And some of the things they're facing. So really high level. This isn't a place to go, we want to add 5 FTEs. We're not there to have that kind of conversation. Obviously, we don't be doing one-offs with budget. You'll have all that coming to you with the normal process. After I finish this slide, I'll show you the inner workings of the budget, what we're doing right now, how it started from in April, or actually January, till all the way into the end of the year, a timeline. Ann asked me to provide that to you today. So kind of plan to go forward. We looked at a couple. I've been working with Ann. These might change, but maybe in the next study session, might be a conversation around streets and transportation capital potentially. August 26th. I know there's been a request about rates and fees.
Yeah.
So we've upped the timeline on rates and fees. I think I have that marked somewhere. typically rates and fees come to council in mid-October.
Right.
Yep.
And so I think, oh, it was in my email I responded to council member just a few minutes ago, real time. We've accelerated that for a discussion to get into the rates and fees in August. We will still bring it in October for adoption, but more of a, because I'm hearing council would like to look at rates and fees, community development rates and fees. So again, we need to have time for the departments to hear what that might look like. So requests or things that you have, you can go through the rate and fee schedule, send information. I'm actually looking and working with the mayor before come here is what fees are out there that maybe we're not collecting, that other cities have charges. It's just looking to make sure we're relevant. I'll say that. So
I like that we're relevant.
There's the
No.
I had a really quick question. So this is kind of like an embryonic template for doing this with future departments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So the sense I got was council wanted to get more involved and be more aware of the budget being built. Not that we're all going to sit in the seven council members building the budget, line item by line. We won't get anywhere. But to at least understand what process, see the director, have conversations and where we're going. We know we need to reduce that gap that we have in our budget from revenues under expenditures. We need to reduce that. And how do we do that? And answer questions about maybe some things we are doing. I know, Christy, that what are the things that have already happened? The administration's already really looking at the budgets and trying to stay tight. And so to come in and be like, okay, at the last minute because someone wants to take a scalpel. Well, we're not a scalpel here. Got to be a bigger conversation. But can we talk about some of those things where you're like, okay, there's this process. They've already been doing this. When it comes to you in that book or that online delivery in October, all that's been. And so now it's going, this is where we're living. There might be bigger conversations to go in the next cycle, the next mid-biennium, where depending on how the economy goes, bigger, more robust changes might need to take place. So
Just real quick question. If this is germane, will we be discussing the transportation benefit district not until August? Is that correct? As part of rates and fees?
When are we going? That's the
that
big
is-
question.
So right now that is scheduled and there'll be a conversation. That's scheduled beyond. Director Perfume is on vacation. It was scheduled to be on was it tonight? I think it was tonight. Yeah, so now it's moved to the 8th when he's back. He wants to be here. So you'll have it July 8th. So obviously that rate and fee falls into rates and fees, but that's just a lot more of these take place.
Yeah, that was a seed.
As long as it's not a carrot.
Yeah. And then the last look at it, September 9th, potentially the police.
Oh, beautiful.
Look at the police department. I'm gonna stop sharing that screen, jump right into the next one. And there's a lot on this. I'm not gonna read piece by piece. I just want to share with you. So I know this has been provided to the council previously. It is our budget schedule. I took some stuff out that really isn't relevant for council. It's kind of our internal working document. So, but really everything starts kind of in January, February. We're reconciling actual budget for the overhead allocation, make sure see where we land. So then you get into March, we're sending out position control. So looking at departments where their labor is allocated. So like Tim has an allocation between 90% goes into parks and 10% of his salary is actually in golf. But he's got staff that hit different buckets. Really in public works, you have staff that work under the water utility, wastewater utility, stormwater utility, they do multiple things, wear different hats. We look at those allocations to make sure they're still relevant because we don't want somebody that never doesn't work on water anymore, only wastewater that are hit. So we're very conscious that it takes a significant amount of time. So department heads and managers go through that and take a look, and our staff sends that out and then brings that back in and does the adjustment.
So
I want to see the bottom.
is that a situation
Going on
where like
vacation.
somebody might be 0.25 FTE, water capital 0.75, something else?
Yes.
Excuse me.
So I'm just gonna work through again, not read all through it. Some highlighted areas here. As we get to mid-year, so we calculate those beginning fund balances. I can make it bigger too, if you'd like.
On
We're
right here.
Yeah, we want to know kind of at the beginning of May where we landed for the end of the year, so we know where we're starting. That's where we're at kind of right now. That just took place. The worksheets are about to go out to departments. They go out July 1st for budget. They've already been working on their budgets, but the formal action is send out the worksheets with some personnel numbers already in there, then we'll just use parks as the guinea pig. Tim will get his budget worksheets, and he's got the month of July to go in there and all his line items and submit a budget back to finance by the end of July.
So
I have never, oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
this month it says finalize REAP.
Yes.
Are we getting more or less?
Reprojections. Right now, we're trending on budget. So we're finalizing the reprojection based on the current year activity for the first 6 months. We take that, throw it in our crystal ball, shake it up, and ask the 8-ball to give us an answer. And that is we've been conservative. We've seen it come down. We've actually been pretty accurate. We had a $3 million projection during the bit when we saw in 21, 22. We went down to 1.2 million to 1.5 to 1.3. That's trended pretty close. We ended last year slightly above budget, which is good. We're trending right now.
Because I sold a house for you.
There we go.
I have never seen this before. Has anybody else on council ever seen this level of detail on the budget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where?
Yep.
It's been presented to us before.
At this level?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just kick
And
in.
you're saying we received this in an email?
Yes.
Yes.
Most
And then
recently?
this is the same form that we were talking about before when I sent out the Rick and I can't be the only ones to weigh in on this. Please weigh in on this because we don't.
When
have to
did
live
you
the
send
same.
that?
We
That
sent a
was
while
when
back.
March.
Yeah.
I sent it to Ann. And
It's
then
probably
Ann sent it
March.
to everybody. Yeah.
I finalized it with your office, looking at what's really critical in here is when I get down to the bottom, the dates for deliberations, the dates for the workshops, make sure council's available. So
I'll be in French Polynesia, sorry.
in October?
No, in November.
Okay,
Just
that's
wait
okay.
to say that.
Why?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna miss
What
that.
date in November?
I think I'm leaving, I should look at a calendar. I'm leaving, I believe, on the 10th. Yeah, I'm leaving on the 10th. And I'm
Oh,
getting back here
boy.
the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So Denise.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
You're not gonna be in,
I'm here for
you're
you.
not gonna be in Hawaii.
Denise will be running the vote.
I'm out on the 18th as well,
Okay.
prearranged,
It
so.
was sent April 23rd.
There you
I can resend the.
I'm out on the 18th too. No, I'm not. I'm not
go.
here.
We can work within the calendar. We have to adopt. There's certain things we have to do by
Real
certain
quick
dates.
though.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, but yeah, so we can. There's some things we can always push to be able to approve.
Yeah.
The workshops, I think, are the most critical that
Yeah. Yes.
staff here. So, so just going back up, as you saw before, we're gonna be talking rates and fees earlier. Staff's gonna go. We're gonna have more of a focus group on that. Have a robust discussion of what's in there before it gets to council in August. And again, that will come back for the vote on rates and fees in October. What I wanted to highlight in the green is really when the council gets, so the mayor is required by law to have a proposed budget that is what we, and they use the word balance. Balance means you can have revenues, expenditures, and fund balance, and how you're making sure you have enough resources over uses is what that means. That's the definition. So a balanced budget is presented to council for council to consider and to adopt. So that has to happen. And so that happens and the budget gets posted on the city website and available to council on October 16th every year around that time frame. From October 16th to the second vote, the second public hearing at November 18th, there's a month from getting the budget to actually adopting it is what the council has to be able to change that, make their adjustments. And so you have 3 workshops that we have set up that really we can get into the kind of opens it up. Just wanted to highlight that is really the normal time frame that the council receives the budget and kind of that becomes yours. It becomes the council's budget to consider and adopt. And then the rest of the year after the green is we have year-end amendments. All those things have to take place to be able to close the year for the current year. So we are planning at the December 16th is the last council meeting of the year for a year-end budget. This is going to be anything that again. And you have previously have seen, that can the council.
Thank you, Ann.
Were you recording now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was
No,
that
she
we all
sent
got
us
a
an email.
Okay.
we got a notification all at once.
Perfect. So again,
How's
you
your
want to
calendar?
work through that timeline, show you kind of, there's a lot going on with the city staff, all the departments, all the directors, they put a ton of time into this. And then we pull it all together, starting in August to see where we land, figure out the gap. I sit down, the mayor in our office meets probably every week and goes, what do we got to trim? What do we got to do? What do we need to massage? Before we do that, I go through and see if there's errors, right? So, you know, somebody doubled up here, they doubled up here. That happened. It's a lot of moving parts.
So typically we have a council meeting, then we have a study session, council meetings study.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 weeks in a row, council meetings. What's that?
I'm not sure. I'll take a look at that. I just pulled this off. What was it?
11th
Yeah, it
and
says
the
the
18th.
11th and the 18th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll look at the dates. So it will be, because those are back to back.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to have the following.
We don't usually take, it won't come to a study session, but those are back to back, what's called council meetings.
Right.
So I'll look at it.
Okay.
So the second public hearing should really be on the 25th.
If that's, yeah.
No,
look at it.
we don't meet, that's
That's what I'm saying.
the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
That's what I'm
Look
saying.
at it.
Yeah.
They'll look at it.
So there might be something we
What?
communicate with Ann when how the calendar works with those dates that were off. It might be a back to back. I have to. So
That's
good
fine, I'm
question.
not gonna be here.
So, all right.
You're not gonna change my trip.
Jeez.
Let me share one more slide. We're gonna kind of get into parks a little bit. I'm gonna start with parks. And then Tim will kind of navigate some things in parks and answer maybe just some questions about process. But put together an infographic for parks. Kind of walk through it. I'll read off. Don't try to read the small FTE count. I'll tell you what's in there. What the highlighted the FTE counts over from 2018 to 2026. If we'll just go back to the last few years, there's no staffing changes. There's no increase in FTEs. But from 2018, they were at 24.57. And then in 2023, they went to 25.28. It's remained static since then. So when we look at parks, I look at two different chunks. There's obviously a senior center, kind of set aside, but you have parks like maintenance, that side out there with your facilities, what you see in Kitsap Lake, Haddon, those things, and that staff to maintain that. Then you have the recreation side. So what I've highlighted up there, you have 17.26 dedicated staff to the maintenance and operations of parks facilities. They operate off a $3.6 million operational budget. Over $2 million $2 million of that is personnel. They have budgeted $825,000 in parks capital for 2026. These are 26 numbers as adopted at the mid-year that we just passed. The revenue side of parks, parks generates outside of grants. We're not talking grants. They bring in grant dollars. These are your charges for services, your fees. $220,000 a year is what their fees generate. These are softball fees, park rec fees, shelter fees, and then they have budgeted about $72,000 in other, and a lot of that's donations. So it's called that.
Quick question, Mike.
Yes.
So we're looking at maintenance and operations, no rec.
The rec is in here.
In the
Sorry, the overall operations budget overall, that's everything. 3.6
Okay.
million is everything. That's a total budget that Tim has to work with.
Okay,
Within operations. That's senior center, recreation, and maintenance. The 17 staff I was tied to is the operations of those maintenance staff.
So I have a question. If we implemented development fees for parks, can that only go to new parks, or can it go to maintenance of existing parks that new residents would use?
I need to research impact fees on parks. Impact fees are really for development impacts and where those can be used. I've spent a lot more time in the transportation impact arena, learning about how those dollars need to be used there, because there's a lot of focus and studies that can be done to be able to use those dollars. I believe, yes, it's going to be for expansion. It's going to be for impact, for new development, making sure you have the new parks. But I don't know if it could be for redevelopment of parks. The maintenance.
In other states, it is.
Yeah, I'd have to look. So
I think that's critically.
no, it'd be very important before we'd ever do it.
Yeah, I don't think it can go towards operations, but I think it can go towards we've got it identified in our Park Pros plan as a funding option.
Okay.
For Washington State, because every state's a little different, because I know in California,
Yeah, traditionally it's set up, like Mike said, as a way to keep up with the demand on parks.
Growing, right.
What are these impact fees? How are they assessed?
Per unit when you get a permit to build.
Yeah, development,
Housing.
development. So,
Instead of going through the whole secret process, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, now they go through this convoluted way and they get some transportation dollars, but it's,
Are these assessed at the municipal level, at the county, city?
yeah, when you get a permit. Like
So
I
we
was
can-
talking with Mr. Stern, Mayor Stern, and he said as soon as they implemented development fees, they got so much more development and better development, which is counterintuitive, but
It's predictable.
yeah, and we're the only city in Washington State that doesn't have
Okay.
only one.
And we were not prepared to talk deep in the impact.
Yes.
Thank you for that non-germane
It is
explanation,
in-
but
it is
it's,
in- Like I said, it has it within this document, the city has had discussions around.
and I feel like you probably explained it to me before, and I apologize.
That's okay.
Sidebar.
I'll keep
Keep
doing it.
I will take this slide now and hand it over to Tim, and we're here to see how this goes. So answer any questions.
Yeah, I've prepared a few things if you want me to get into them. If not, I'm happy to just have discussion, but just kind of wanted to talk to you and let you know, obviously our budget is pretty stable every year. Not much really changes. We move some numbers here and there, based on our spending the last couple of years. If we feel a certain area needs to be increased or not, then we make some of those adjustments. But really, it's more tightened up during the year, kind of keeping watch on things. As Mike mentioned earlier, all the departments have been looking at how they can do business a little bit different and try to save some funding. We haven't really done a whole lot of that within parks, just because there's not a whole lot of.
Because you've been doing it.
You have to.
Not a whole lot of additional funds out there, but I guess what I've been doing a lot since I've been here, really what was incorporated to as part of going through our park system and then doing a full evaluation as part of the pros plan is also doing comparables. And then I've challenged my staff as well to go out to their contacts or helping them create contacts if they didn't have them. And with our fees and structures, as Mike said, altogether we between the donations and our fees and charges, it's only about 300,000. So even if we're raising our rates a little bit, it's not going to bring a whole lot in. And some of my concern in some of those is some of the programs might end up being cost prohibitive. And so looking for alternative ways to help support those sponsorships, other types of things that we can do with business partnerships within the community. But one of the things that I really like digging into is, so our National Recreation and Park Association has a park metrics program. And so I typically every year, and I did this last year because you can't have access to the info if you don't do the work, put like 2 or 3 solid days into inputting our data for our community, and then it gives us the comparables. So about 6 months later, we get a full report. So the most recent report I have is for last budget year. And it literally prints off a customized report for your community based on the information you have, and you can dig in deep into your regional comparables as well as your national comparables based on your community size and or your population by square mile. And so that's a lot of what I look at when I'm doing some of my long-term planning. Obviously Mike said, we've been static on our staffing levels. But that information also tells me what are the other organizations that are our size, have similar park sizes, what do their staffing levels look like and how. So it really kind of helps us, again, dig into even our park structure. So a really good example is we have 28 parks. That's on the higher end of communities within our population size, but we're low on acreage. So we have a lot less acreage than other communities our size, even though we have more parks. And so what that also tells us is our park per acre size, just rounding it off, is about 10 acres per park, where the national average is 24 acres per park. And so what that's telling me on a operations side is we're moving a lot around town and wasting time because of the amount of parks that we have. We have a lot of small parks, so what we refer to within our systems as pocket parks and neighborhood parks. We're very heavy on those. Just those two park types, we have 19 out of our 28 parks are all essentially below 10 acres. And so we have staff that are unloading a mower, unloading equipment, 10 minutes in, then mowing, doing their work at a park, half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and then they're going to load back up and then head elsewhere. So unfortunately, I mean, our park system is not necessarily set up for us to be super efficient. And I think that's where it shows sometimes too, when we end up getting pulled away to do a project, again, being a little bit on the lower end with staffing levels. FIFA is a great example. We were all hands on deck. We wanted to make downtown look great, but at the same time, our parks are suffering a little bit. And so they're not getting mowed as often as what they normally would. And we need to get caught back up on those. So that's kind of some of on the operations side, some of the challenges we're dealing with. Obviously, having a few more staff would be helpful. Even if we were able to find a way to fund some seasonal staff, although seasonal staff, as Ron would probably know, seasonal labor is hard to find. And then you train them and then they're gone. We're lucky to be able to retain 2 of our seasonal laborers from the summer before the next year, because we've trained them up and they've gone elsewhere. So just lots of challenges in that area. Also within the recreation side, when we hit that downturn in 2008 to 2010, a lot of our department on the programming side was cut. And so we haven't really expanded in our opportunities for programs. Senior Center, again, is a little bit different because they're busting at the seams and they're programmed out from 9 to 3 every day. So they're doing a great job maintaining what they have there. But there's some opportunities as well for us to be able to, again, the recreation staff are identifying what's going on in the community that we're not offering, or what is not happening in the community that people want to see, for us to be able to look at expanding some of our opportunities. Our adult athletics is probably where at least 70-80% of our revenue comes from, is our sports teams.
You're not cutting pickleball, are you?
Yeah, darn.
Yeah,
No, pickleball's the one that,
So again, and then the other thing, the capital side, comparables, as you're aware, a lot of our capital projects can happen because of the funding that we're able to get from outside sources. We don't depend on the general fund to have a capital budget annually to help us with that. This last year, or 25, I think we were just a little bit under 700,000 for our capital, where our comparables are at 2 to 2.5 million. Is what their communities are receiving. Some of that is general fund support. Some of that is just other types of funding that they receive within their various states. Yeah, so impact fees is a big part of that. I mean, when I was in Idaho, a community like Meridian, for example, that is just growing bonkers. They had impact fees, but they were growing so much they actually couldn't keep up. They couldn't contract enough projects to keep up with the funds that they were getting in. But that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Impact fees is a huge is definitely something I think that we should explore as a potential. And it's not a source of general fund revenue that you're looking at from property taxes that you're looking to utilize. But anytime, if anybody wants to see the full report,
I think that should be distributed.
Yeah, a ton of information.
If you can email that to us, that'd be great.
Just a ton of information. Some of it's a little bit confusing, so if there's questions that you have, I'd be happy to share that. or try to explain it to you a little bit better. But it's just really good information for us to be able to utilize to figure out where do we want to be in 5 to 10 years and how we're going to get there. So creating that roadmap moving forward, and obviously looking at alternative funding opportunities as that first route, as opposed to.
Is there a way to monetize our regional parks? Because Evergreen Park, Lions Park, Pendergast are used by a lot of people who don't live in Bremerton, but yet we pay for it.
Parking fees.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's
Parking
various,
fees,
yeah, there's various
pickleball fees.
parking, something that's addressed in here. At one level or another, I think it was close to 80% of communities have some sort of parking fee, but that could also be for tournaments that they're hosting. That's very common when you have a regional sports complex. When cars pull in, you're charging them a parking fee for the day. And so that's where I think a lot of those parking fees come from.
The Navy today asked us about the possibility of using Pendergast Park for commuter parking, and then they would have shuttles. But of course, it's confusing to me because we have a lot of empty park and rides.
Right.
So
part of the, and try to straight up, yeah. We looked at that this last year, and if you want, I don't know if you want to speak anymore about.
We didn't say yes.
Parking, yeah, potential parking at Pendergast. We had looked into it this last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of downside.
Our parks are protected and it is a citizen's initiative. So
Perfect.
using
Yep.
them for purposes other than park
Right.
recreation isn't allowed. And so when we try to do other things, or people have ideas of doing other things with them, we're not able to do that. But there is a process to change it, but it is by design very cumbersome and time consuming. And so it usually isn't something that people want to pursue.
Yeah, we weren't suggesting that it would be anything we would look at. It was just they asked. Denise?
Is this analysis going to be incorporated into your budget presentation, your recommendations, whatever? This is one of the reasons we hired you, is because you're tapped into this type of thing, which is great. And I'd love for it to be more than just sitting on a shelf. If we could take that analysis and make it real, like based on this, I'm recommending impact fees. Impact fees have been brought up for parks before. I remember bringing it up with DCD, and it was not popular. So I think we're at a different time right now. And so I'm hoping that we're going to see this is really interesting, and I think it's hopeful, and I'd like to see it incorporated in the budget planning.
Yeah, we'll see,
Yeah.
see where it
Yeah.
takes us. So I think it's gonna be.
See what sticks.
I mean, it's
resource based.
It's resources, money.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
At
gonna be
the
resource-based,
very least,
so.
I can tell you where we should be.
Yeah.
And whether that's in the form of just information sharing or a request, however.
Well, yeah, it's one thing to be told where we should be. I think we have known that for a long time. You're quantifying it, you're proving it, you're validating it. I'd like to see action, I think we all would. And it's revenue fee,
I think,
generation.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
one of the, Jane, that's a really good question. How do we monetize
Yeah.
our facilities? Tim was just at the table with a grant proposal with a partnership that the mayor's been working on that is looking at regionalizing one of our complexes that brings in, could be a revenue generator.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
right. Partners on
Yeah.
their facility.
Yeah.
That is a large initiative to tackle some of this, where those dollars come back into Bremerton, for users that are outside of Bremerton. And so that's a pretty monumental step in the direction of getting that facility built out.
Let's take some
but we
monumental
also
step.
we have Bainbridge Pickleball Club at Lions Park.
Bainbridge has to
Didn't
pay
they help
double.
support financially? Didn't they help support the changes?
What did
The
they?
Cambridge Pickleball Club? or was it the Lions
I
Club?
think it was a
It was
lion.
a line.
Lions Club did when they did some of the renovation a couple years ago, but I'm talking with
Yeah.
the West Sound Pickleball Club,
Right,
wherever they're based out of.
wherever.
I'm talking with them about some improvements.
Am I okay to go ahead?
Yeah, you're okay, then honest, yeah.
So I feel like you're just teeing us up for maybe some recommendations you're gonna make during budget season, right? Teeing us up saying like,
Well,
hey, we need
and
to
also
think about
just kind of
streamlining.
finding out, how much do you want me to get into this, or do you not want me to do any of this?
We don't know what it is.
Well, yeah,
but-
we need, if you email that to us, that would be.
And based
wonderful.
on, we hired you for your expertise. That's,
I have the floor.
Oh, sorry.
Gosh.
Yeah.
No, yeah, so getting that will be great. And then I think that what I'm hearing is that we need some streamlining to make the dollar stretch more effectively with the program.
And besides
Programming.
providing stats, I can work with Mike and put some estimated numbers together of what that would look like.
And
I
I
don't
think,
know how much more they can streamline.
can I finish?
Go ahead.
No, you can't. There's streamlining that can happen on a shoestring budget, and it's like there's not. But what I also hear you saying is like, like we may have to face some tough decisions or not. I mean that's up to you. There's going to be some programs that the community might love, but they're not utilizing, or like you're talking about cost prohibitiveness. So maybe there is a program that's financially draining and maybe not serving the community as much as it used to. Is that kind of what maybe you're kind of teeing up for us to look at?
Not really. I mean, we do evaluations after every program ending and look at the financials, and if we're not at least breaking even on a program, then we consider eliminating it.
Right, and I think that's hard, just like with school
So we don't
district,
subsidize any of the programs.
Okay.
We try to at least cover the direct costs.
That was kind of a question I was going towards also, is do you ever subsidize things because there is a value to the public?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, and even I would love for us to
I
get
know.
more into some community events internally, and even though they're free to the public, we have there would be sponsors for those that would pay for that.
I just
A great example is our concert series on Tuesdays starting to July 7th. Quick plug.
quick plug.
Whitey Dumpster.
We have two
Yeah.
separate sponsors that have come to the table that are paying for it. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
evergreen.
And then
Two, right.
I just, there's events that like we just had Ways Goose, and that was really a very successful event in a lot of ways, even on a rainy day. And I don't know if financially that was, if those kinds of things are something that are financially viable, but attracting more like that.
So and Waste Goose is a great example of why they're staying at Sheridan Park, is because of a partnership that we've created. In the winter, they're going to run some programs out of our building. It brings a lot of people through the building, and so that's an opportunity for them to be able to see a facility they don't normally get to see. So hopefully that turns around and we receive some additional rentals and facility use kind of.
Thank you. That's it.
Anna?
Yeah, thanks. So, I'm huge on maintenance and oversight and monitoring. I'm really big on all those things. What happens, and here I'm talking about operations staff, of whom I used to be one, and with whom I still maintain a lot of, hey, how you doing, how's it going? And they are, each one of these capital sponsorships, the pickleball at Lions, all of the various things where there's like a huge check, there's a photo op, things get given to parks without a relationship that I at least can clearly see to the pros plan, which emphasized the maintenance of small neighborhood parks. That was what respondents wanted. So these things are happening, and what it means to staff is more and more and more maintenance, or else they have to walk around saying, wow, I'm not really doing a good job, which you have great employees. They're not interested in that. They're not interested in just doing enough. They want to do it right. So in these sponsorships from businesses or corporations, I used to pick up at Evergreen after one of these, and that wasn't something that the corporate sponsors were covering in any way. It was just, I had to come in early and, work harder. So are you thinking about this when you're talking about like the events and the monetization? How are we going to make things right for the people that are mowing and picking up the trash and like trying to avoid needles inside the toilet paper rolls?
Sure.
All of that stuff. That seems to me, we talked to Jeff Elevato 3 years ago, and he was talking like 100,000 for 3 more people in ops. Is my right?
100,000 for 3 people? No way.
It's about full time. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyhow,
yeah.
Might have been 100,000 per person.
Yeah.
For 3 people.
And I can tell you right
With
now, without
benefits,
a revenue source, there's no upkeep.
Right.
The city is not in a position without revenue sources to be
right. So I guess
growing
I'm just
staff.
saying that like
So.
doing and
So-
I'm just gonna go off topic for 15 seconds. Down at Pendergast, where there's that huge Kitsap leadership installation, there's no maintenance on that. Those trees are dying. You go to the park, you look at this wonderful thing. There's no way for water to get to these trees unless it rains.
Yeah, so Pendergast is a good example for if we can further develop opportunities there for people to utilize the space, rent it out, then we could potentially see that value coming back and having additional staff there. Pendergast is a regional sports complex over 50 acres, and we don't have a full-time staff person there.
Yeah, I know. Even though you yank Mike Kelly out there every
Yeah,
couple
they're
of days.
part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example of a way that we could, as we develop, if we were able to put in, these soccer facilities, that could be a game changer, no pun intended, for our staffing level there to be able to help offset a request for a new staff person to be on site there.
Okay, that sounds great. My final question is, wouldn't it be possible when you're getting corporate sponsorship, like when you do a contract, right? You typically add 20%. You bump it up by 20% to allow for things, accidents, right? Prices go up, etc. Isn't there some way that you could add 20% to cover paying people to do the maintenance?
But usually people come and say, here's $10,000. They don't say, how much is this whole event gonna cost?
Or they say, I want to build this.
Right.
Yeah.
And we work through that process and find out what the development cost is. They don't necessarily have an interest.
Yeah.
I think
They want a plaque.
they want a photo op. I do understand that, but like, is this a policy that we could make? Is that if you want to give us money, that's great. You just got to give us enough to maintain it. Because we don't have it.
I don't know if I haven't really seen.
And in perpetuity, that would be difficult.
Yeah, and that's a hard
We
thing.
did it in California.
So,
We did. We had landscape
Yeah.
maintenance
yeah,
agreements.
to me, that's
We have
almost
that
like
for all our
a,
facilities. We have maintenance.
Yeah.
Agreements.
Sorry, what were we saying, Tim?
like to me, a great example of a place that something like that happens is a cemetery with perpetual care fund. So essentially, you're wanting to create a perpetual care fund to be able to help with operations. I mean, there's different things that we can probably look at to try to find some funds, but it's really hard from donations to get anybody that wants to put towards long-term maintenance on a facility. But I'll also tell you, I mean, my mindset walking into projects isn't to overdevelop or design something to the fact that our current structure of staffing is going to be overtaxed because of it. One of the checks I got this last year for the tennis courts at Lions Park, that wasn't necessarily a pros item, but we have a safety concern there and we have to address it. And so we're going to have to do a redesign of that. It's not going to increase or shouldn't increase any maintenance at that site. It's making the site more safe.
Liability, yeah.
Well, I think if it can be done in California, if we do it here.
If it can be done in Idaho.
If it was done in California, we probably should not consider
It was
and I'm
Prop
saying that as a
13.
native.
It was a big deal. It was Prop 13 on it. It's totally different than how Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've been talking internally about some other, it's a lot of time needed to research and see what other options are out there for funding, but that's something definitely that we're starting to look at.
Great.
But you don't have I'm so sorry. You don't have a volunteer coordinator yet. I know that's something that Jeff Coughlin kept bringing up.
I have a staff person that's taken some of those roles on just to kind of see.
Can you forward
Where
that
it can come.
person's information to us so that we can, like, lots of people come up and they go, I'd like to do something for Haddon, but they don't know how.
Well, more like something like that, we would do it as we'd partner, like the Girl Scouts were just at Haddon yesterday, walking around and looking. So we have groups like that. So that's more of what she does is she works with like youth type groups or churches or the types of groups as opposed as individuals are really hard. It's a lot of time spent when you have individuals and you don't have a volunteer coordinator, and this is a person that does other things.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So does anybody else have any budget questions for Tim? Well, thank you for the overview, and we'll all keep thinking of ways to make you money.
Well, and you'll send that
document, right?
that document.
Yes.
Is there a PDF?
I think you're on it.
It's a
I think-
PDF.
Yeah.
Yep, we'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's called the NRPA Agency Performance Review. And it's not a picture of us, but it's got our title.
So now you just update your information every year and every year.
Yeah, so they just sent out a request to update for the 2026. So they basically send it mid-year for us.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
we're giving current numbers, and then I'll be able to go in and I'll be able to pull our personalized report next fall sometime. Next
Okay.
fall or winter. But it's nice too, because you can go in and there's certain areas you can do separate comparables for, and that's part of our membership with the National Recreation.
Yeah, it must help a lot with your Parks Commission
Mhm.
too to have that.
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Warm at the table.
Okay, we're almost done.
Back
It's the
there.
hot seat, that's why.
Fans are springing the
Yeah.
hot.
Next, we're on to general council business. Can we get a report from the Public Works Committee?
I think you heard it tonight. With all the presentations, this is what always
Good.
happens.
Yeah, okay, so this.
You know, we've really pretty much just run through the agenda items and, Anna and Jennifer, you want to add anything?
Got dropped midway through. Really quick question. Did it look like I was still in attendance? Did
No.
My Zoom was, okay, good. Thank you, that's it. That's my report.
That's a good report.
Okay, other,
Always at the sub-regional library.
other people go to regional, other
I'm
committee and
excited.
board meetings.
No.
I went to KCR board meeting and I tried really hard to take notes. When you are on Zoom, there, like, you see what was in our packet for budget, and I totally understand that. That's kind of the agendas that I get at KCR. Then Tony comes on Zoom and starts talking in complete rapid toniness. And I try to follow along as best I can, and I have to say I failed doing it on Zoom. I need to go in person and like be able to say, stop, wait, what?
Yeah.
Who's that? I am looking forward to getting the minutes, and I promise at our next study session, I will.
Are they meeting monthly?
They're not meeting in July. They typically meet sort of kind of monthly. So the next meeting will be the retreat on 20th August. Yeah. So sorry about that. I
So-
really did try to take notes.
So, I just want to say something, and maybe this makes no sense to anybody else. But I think in the future, if we have our name tag on when we're walking around a special event, we should give a special, a 1 minute report or something.
I'm off the hook all the time then. Ah.
They know who you are.
I never wear it. I'm so bad.
So, I did go to a couple meetings that you might be interested in. I went to the KETA
I
meeting.
do appreciate that rule, sorry.
Went to the KETA meeting and it was down at Char, the new beautiful restaurant. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to go there.
Yep.
And it was very nice, but seeing as it's, a lot of it is publicly funded between the cities, the counties, Department of Commerce. I sit there and drink water. Unless we're paying a fee, like when we go to Chamber of Commerce, we pay a fee to go out to lunch, right? So that was a little uncomfortable for me. Plus, they allowed one of the board members who paid to be on the board. If you're an investor, you can pay to be on the board. And they let him give a campaign speech. I found that extremely distasteful, and I immediately sent an email to the director of,
oh,
no, I didn't send it to PDC, but I did research it, and because of their standing, I can't do a PDC complaint. So, but we had somebody there who was interested in doing exercise with everybody who was there on branding the area, and it was really kind of, I didn't feel that there was a lot of thought into branding. It's kind of like, oh, it's a beautiful place. People are friendly. It's affordable. And I mean, it's attainable for all of us. It's not affordable, I wouldn't say. So that exercise went on. So that those are my highlights of KETA. But then as soon as the meeting was over, I walked over to the bar with my credit card and had a couple of wonderful drinks and really nice appetizers. The food is good, and I paid for everything.
Quick question. I had heard that the county had lowered its investment in KETA.
Yes, they had.
Okay, so
but I don't know the exact amount, but I
Okay.
think we are now, at least currently, paying almost the same amount as the entire county.
Okay.
So
We're giving them
that's,
50 grand a year, right?
and I think the county's
Oh, we could make
going
use of that.
down to 60.
So maybe that can come up in our,
in the
I would
budget.
be more than happy to, okay, yes, I would love a brief on what we.
I did get a new name tag. Okay.
those are pricey.
Yeah. Then another meeting that we had today, Denise and I met with Jennifer, I forget her last name.
Oh, wait, we just had a change of command email.
Kirby.
Kirby.
I'm sorry. From the Navy, and she actually is taking over Rick's old position, correct? And we had a pretty good conversation. We did talk a little bit about how a lot of us were disturbed at what we perceived to be threats last week about grant funding, and she was going to watch the tape and talk about it. So
good.
And she talked about the issues that they have, of course, parking. It's unbelievable. Do you know how many people use mass transit, work at the shipyard?
Almost none.
Out of all those people, 1,000, and that's it.
Yeah, and does that
Worker
include
driver?
the worker driver vans?
Yes. And they can't get enough people to get on it. She said a lot of the problem is the workforce is very young, and so a lot of them are in childbearing age, and there's not
Drop off their kids at daycare.
Yeah, the whole child care spiel.
Yeah, so we got that, but she had a transit fair and had very few people show up, to the point where she had to throw away free food that they had bought for it. So it's a real struggle for her.
Food.
And but it was a really good conversation. I would say those were the highlights. You know,
It was positive. I think we all agreed. We want a really good, healthy working relationship. I mean, we talked about how we were born at the same time, you know, and have
fraternal twins.
some of the conflicts that siblings sometimes have, but to keep that communication open. Parking, is not something obviously that city council through budget is going to support. However, childcare and policy around permitting for childcare and, all of that, there's a lot of ways probably that council can help. So,
They did get some
tried to keep
federal
it.
grants, so they're gonna be in partnership down off of Quincy Square, one of the Bremer Trust buildings, putting in childcare there. There also have been granted money to put in childcare at the Evergreen Point property. So
That's in the future.
well, she said, we got the money, they gotta spend it.
Gonna come by the end of the year. Yeah.
And just to be really clear, I think childcare is huge, and that's why I keep.
And we
Yeah.
brought up the new childcare in your district.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think that it's the main reason, the majority of the causes of too much parking is that people don't want to miss overtime.
Yes. And she did say that was one thing that they were working on, because if they're on a worker driver bus, they can't accept overtime. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was a real,
Right.
it was a
I never knew that.
good
nuance
conversation.
thing.
Well, how would they
Okay.
get, I mean, they have a guaranteed ride home, but she said that it's not a guaranteed ride home every single day.
Mm.
So part of that was her working on trying to figure out how to make overtime more predictable.
Got it.
So, but it was a good conversation. And then,
Make war a calmer kind of thing.
yeah,
We were singing Kumbaya by the end.
yeah. Anyway, I'd say those are the major meetings. Anybody else?
You're imagining.
I
that.
turned my
Please
charm
try.
on.
Living in Quincy Square, it feels like. I ate dinner at Albacone 3 times this week. Like that is, so all the fan zones. Somebody from our household has been represented. Today I worked, so Benny took the boys down for the kids' day one, but they've been down to every event at the fan zone. And so it's been really, really successful down there. I'm first I got to anything, but it's been a good showing, and yeah, it's been a lot of Quincy Square. Couple weeks.
Yeah, I missed the one today. All the previous ones. In fact, I have a fan zone T-shirt that we get, they're out of them.
Yeah, you do.
And a pin.
And
a pin?
I got it.
Yeah.
And you got a scarf too,
I have
man.
a
You
scarf.
are,
And a pin. No, you've got a lapel pin on
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
now.
What's that from?
it's the whale tail.
No, I know, but where'd you get it from?
Okay, okay.
Quincy Square?
Let's keep rolling here.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else?
One
Yes.
for good of the order.
Oh,
I'm really glad that you guys met with the Navy, and I'm really glad that you
It's
guys.
actually shipyard. We met.
Yeah, the
with
shipyard.
Yeah,
PSNS.
Shipyard.
Okay.
different.
I'm really glad that you've been meeting regularly with Mike about the budget. I would really like to know when you're planning to do that. I think that council leadership, council president, council vice president need to talk to council before they speak for council. And here, as all of you know, especially, let's see, Jennifer and Denise, I have been boring on and on about this for years. So I'm briefly boring on and on about it now, which is, I don't want my position on this council to be, I got elected so I can vote for president, and then I can just sit back, fold my arms, and I have nothing to contribute. So that's all I'm saying. All done.
I think the role of president is to do those extra meetings. That's why you get all the extra big bucks.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
saying nothing about the extra meetings. I'm just saying, I'm so sorry, Jennifer, I'm interrupting.
No, I think what I hear, I think I can definitely understand and relate to what you're saying, that I don't want there to be, I don't want to be spoken for. There's a lot of things that maybe we disagree on fundamentally. But but these kinds of meetings, meeting with the public as requested regarding the street naming, meeting with the Navy, shipyard representative, post, I mean, that's the kind of thing, like that's coalition building. We have our own coalition building that we do boots on the ground level, with our own constituents and bringing issues up. We don't always have time to do, I don't know, I guess I'm curious, and can you give me a for instance that I understand? Like which meeting would you have liked to know about beforehand?
The two that I mentioned, I would have liked, for example, to have said, oh, you're meeting about finance. Well, I've had two different town halls on the budget, and here are my findings. Maybe you'd like to look at them. Because these are from a bunch of constituents. I also would have liked to have made sure that there was more opportunity for public input, for the community to start talking about what they want. And since you've also held a budget town hall, you know that the first thing, and you guys pulled this out in your meetings apparently, is that people don't know what we have to do. They don't know what we're required to do. So every budget meeting where you go, where do you want to put your money? It's like, well, we don't have that much disposable money.
And that's why we put out a budget survey
Right.
from the council.
Right.
I guess I already knew that you were meeting with Mike regularly.
It was announced, and then when it was announced, what, a month ago that you were going to start the monthly meetings, I sent you questions.
Yeah.
That was the next meeting you have, can you ask this?
It's like,
And-
I do it typically right the day after a council meeting is when.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't last week because.
I guess I kind of felt like we already have our thumb on the pulse of what y'all, I mean, I've heard a lot about the Navy on my time on council.
And the shipyard.
And the shipyard. And commuters versus residents and all of that. This wasn't a situation, we were building a relationship, and it coincidentally happened right after we were threatened by a Navy spokesperson. And so that was difficult. That was difficult to manage. But I think we did it. It wasn't specific. It wasn't like we went in with a set of initiatives. This is what's important to council. It was, she brought things to the table. We felt pretty sure that y'all didn't want to spend millions of dollars on a new parking garage for the city of Bremerton. You know,
You went out on a limb on that one.
Yeah. But I do understand and respect that sense. But if we had to go through the whole council before every meeting, it'd be like having that person sit with the whole council. And I think that's why you elect leadership, to represent you, to represent the spirit of this. And as Christy said, I mean, Christy does, I know, send questions in. Please, you know, if you don't think your concerns are being heard or represented, write an email, you know. But just because you weren't there doesn't mean that your voice wasn't there. You know,
I also had like 5 other meetings in the past week, mostly with just individual people. I mean,
Me too.
so, I mean,
But when you're meeting with finance,
every 2 weeks.
I don't meet
I
with
meet-
finance. I don't meet with finance. It's
do.
only Jane.
when you meet with finance, then that's us. Like, it's like, what are our?
No, it's the
concerns?
council president
council
meeting with the director of
I
finance.
understand that.
But what I'm doing is I can show you our agendas. I'm asking questions that council has asked or staff is asking us to figure out. I mean, it's nothing secret.
What I recognize and what you're saying, Anna, is that Jane has a political bias that may sometimes
I
comes
think
out.
we should just like not use the word bias at this council for a couple more months. Okay?
Why not?
Because.
That's
it's
what I'm
not-
saying is sometimes, you know, like your spin on Keita is gonna be a little different than somebody else,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And so in that same vein, I think I understand where Anna is coming from in that we want to make sure that it's not your agenda and not council's agenda that's being.
It's always more efficient to have one strong leader. And that's why the majority of this council does seem to keep preferring year after year after year, one strong leader. I get that. But it's like, if it's a hurry go up meeting, like, with the shipyard, so be it. But if you're having a series of meetings to say, hey, you guys got any questions? I will say, Christy and Jane, I've been in so much pain for like the past month or so that if announcements came by, if they didn't go on for more than 5 minutes, I could well have missed them. So that's on me.
Yeah, it's the day after council meeting. So twice a month I meet with my. Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else? All right, meeting is adjourned.